With the end of 2020 coming, I figure it's a decent time to take a look back at what the three of the space sim leaders have accomplished since the last year when I did a similar update. Safe to say this year's been quite interesting one on everyone's calendar, however, for some it's not exactly what you would expect. Regardless, let's take a look on what each of the prodigal sons have managed given the chance, and what we can expect in coming months. But before that, if you want to support the channel a little bit more, well then check out the merch store down below in the description. All the best merch is there. Now let's see, since the last time I started with Elite, I'll give this time the other end a first go. So, Star Citizen. This year, Star Citizen managed to pump out two major updates since last year, and by most accounts it's been, well, a mixed bag when it comes to wider public. But internally, it's been a shakingly but upwards looking thumbs up. Star Citizen nor Squadron 42 still have not released any kind of a beta or full release dates. So if you only care to know if these bloated dead whales are about to burst or not, well, I would say give it a bit more time. Its guts will spill, but it's not this nor it seems next year either. Also, this year we might actually see 400 million fundraising milestone. Of course, not counting that 45 million private investment, of course. So, I guess there's something to celebrate. But what exactly did the zealot army of the Wallet Warriors get this year? For starters, last year Star Citizen embarrassed itself with incredibly bad, almost undigestible 3.12 update, which nearly drove me to murderous rage. No, seriously, I expect Star Citizen to run just as well as the zealot army's hive mind's logic. But fuck me, this was far worse. Happily, with 3.13 early this year, it managed to get back up to, well, barely working state so that you can enjoy at least the slideshow-worthy alpha testing. Some small features like ship-to-ship docking were introduced, but nothing of real note. Well, not really. After that, 3.14 came out just recently and introduced a new city which had even more slide-showy experience, as the Cloud City with all the clouds and unoptimized models and environments delighted those with patience. Additionally, we saw yet again a ship combat rebalance that made me just contemplate whether or not they actually are working according to a solid plan or just listing things that they need to redo for the umpteenth time. But seriously, while they might say that this is developing as a customer, backer, observer even, after 9 years nearly, I just wonder about one thing only, and that's when the fuck will it be done, damn it? As for the future, well, 3.15 has been announced with the account vibes, so yo who bought those temporary monies from eBay sellers, the scum of the gaming communities, well, hope y'all happy now. Also, fuck gold sellers, every single one of them. Moving on to the middle child once more, No Man's Sky. Last year it was doing generally its own thing, but this year the game celebrates 5 years since it was released, and for the first time since that day on Steam, the game finally reached mostly positive ratings, surprisingly. So congratulations, the work finally paid off. I truly applaud the company for not giving up and more so delivering surprise updates when you don't expect, with a little box of chocolates as they were. So, what did we get this year? Well, first was the Companions update, a literal, and I shit you not, Tamagotchi game inside the super casual space sim thing. You could ride the creatures and even give them ass blasting lasers. It's pretty funny. After that, the next big update was Expeditions, where we got the mega community events of, well, expeditions as you would go and explore as a community and share in milestones, rendezvous with other players and collect badges. This kinda seems very akin to what Community of Elite Dangerous has been doing for ages, even before No Man's Sky was released, so maybe copy-paste here. But regardless, the update was a really nice addition for those seeking a long-term reason to play. Then came Prisms update. Generally speaking, it was filled to the brim with countless larger or smaller visual improvements and quality of life changes. A true box of chocolates that one was. While it gave you no real reason to actually boot up the game and, play it through if you had already, it still was a very welcome and very cool addition to it. And finally, the last update, well, at least for now, as I'm making this in September, Frontiers update comes out to celebrate 5 years of this game. I honestly have a feeling that this is again a subtle call out for Frontier developments and Elite Dangerous for obvious reasons. If this really is, then I gotta say, No Man's Sky is beating the dead horse more effectively than I am. Fucking space Jesus. Still, in this update, the building redesign is added alongside of settlement feature, not counting again quality of life changes and more. These settlements, just like that living ship, can be built up and would prosper thanks to your intervention. Now, since I don't particularly give too many fucks about anything that has to do with SimCity and similar building sims, it was not for me, but I can recognize nonetheless its worth, so if you're itching to build, well, it's something to check out for you. Overall, each update added plenty of things that would constitute as a whole year's feature worth from Star Citizen and then some. But then again, I'm just comparing apples to super high detail printout JPEG of oranges, not to mention the rotting pile of compost in the corner called... Fuck me. No, seriously, fuck me and fuck my life, and what the fuck happened? Accidentally sitting on your nuts and then ripping them off would be an understatement in the case of Elite Dangerous. Talk about literally taking not a gun, but a goddamn howitzer and blasting your own foot. Elite Dangerous, after last year's literal non-releases and semi-maintenance phase, with the hype build-up for the new era, the biggest ever update expansion being sold as a fully finished product at launch for $40 fucking no less, comes on stage on May 19th and quite literally commits a fucking Sudoku for all to see. So what the hell happened? Fuck, where can I start? Okay, so it's April. Odyssey will be launching its alpha preview for not just those who pre-ordered. No. Those plebs can go get fucked. No, they would open alpha only for the deluxe version pre-orders. And yes, it's not uncommon in the shit industry, but it's still disgusting nonetheless. Abusing that FOMO effect. In March, I piped up and requested a review copy as you would normally do being a member of the media. I had no expectations and thought, well, if they provide it, good. If not, then, well, either no one's getting a review copy or they have some sort of issue with me specifically, which I had not heard before publicly or privately. So I said, fuck it, well, it can't hurt to request, right? And the message I heard back from Frontier was... well, baffling, frankly speaking. I'm paraphrasing this, but it said, we have limited review copies and we will hand them out to our core creators, which you're not. And that's when TheYamiks was taken aback. So, it's not that TheYamiks is rude or hypercritical and whatnot. That's not the reason not to hand out a digital, infinitely copyable key. No, it's that they want to play favoritism like children, and that the digital key was somehow limited in quantity. And on top, one of the bigger creators within their niche game is not their core creator. As I made my public announcement about it, luckily, they found the time to actually contact me for what felt first time in an official way, telling me that, well, they're sorry about miscommunication and that the real reason was, and I paraphrase, TheYamiks is a big meanie head. He won't give key cause he uses words like shit and cunt and fuck solely and only and purely to cause upset. And that now was more what I expected, which is far more reasonable and honest explanation, and I left it there, despite them insinuating malicious intent on my behalf, which is highly professional, I must add. Regardless, review key or not, I would cover Odyssey, and as alpha came out, some warning signs popped up already. While people complained about performance, I had full trust in developers to actually be ironing out already optimization, while this alpha was just a months-old preview that they prepared. That's at least what I expected a fully functional and capable company to do, but it wasn't that. May 19th, and Odyssey launches. It was barely any better than that alpha we got to check out a month before. It was not some old version we got to check out. It was the latest one. It was the best they got. And it was a disaster. On launch, minimum spec machines could not run Odyssey past 10 frames a second on more demanding scenes. The recommended spec machine, which I actually have here. Okay. There we go. That is RX 580, 8 gig thingamajig. This PC cannot run the goddamn Odyssey properly. This machine on any graphics quality could not run the game on 60 frames a second like they internally expect recommended machine to run it. No, it could barely run above 20 frames a second. By their own acclaim on technical aspect, the basic level, this was not even what they themselves would deem acceptable. And it gets funnier even more. To this day, 5 months after the release, my recommended spec machine on the lowest settings still cannot run the game on difficult scenes past 40 frames a second. The only thing that performance-wise was done in this time was frame consistency, which yes indeed has improved, but it's a small improvement to what it should be. Then on top, the actual gameplay still is a travesty. I even struggle to call it a gameplay. The whole planet deck got rewritten so that the old beloved unique planets with those cool geographical landmarks are all gone now, while the new planets lack almost all of the signature hallmarks of the old planet tech. I would wonder why this change was even needed. Yes, we got a colorful skybox effect and more detailed textures, but is that it? No, the big selling point was space legs, the ability to have a corporeal body outside of your ship. And we do. Yes, that feeling still is incredible months after the release. Yet the one thing that people expected, to get walkable ship interiors with the previous hints like that crate trailer, ended up being a non-feature. And, well, let me just give you this clip.
Which I know, look, chat, we understand some people may have wanted to have the full ship interiors, but I will go back to what we've already discussed. Everything done with Odyssey is purely based around longevity of gameplay and stuff like the sheer scale of these ships to sort of, it would be fun in my opinion, and I'm happy to be at odds with different people in the chat, which I'm sure I will be. It would be fun to run up the steps the first 5, 6, 7 times, but then after you've done that 1,000 times, you're probably going to be a little bit more, I just need to get into my ship. And especially if you are leaving someplace in a hurry in a big ship, you probably wouldn't want to be spending 10 minutes running down the corridors as people are laying into your ship. So a lot of this stuff is done to enhance the gameplay and to focus on really those core gameplay loops which we spoke about. But for me, I think it's something I'm used to, and it's there. You've seen it now. That is the transition.
Yeah. It is sad that we don't have those ship interiors, but maybe the gameplay with those legs could make us forget it. Not counting the performance issues, of course. Well, there are 2 main gameplay types: the combat, the space pew-pews with legs, and exploration. Well, the combat, I hypercritically analyzed its massive, unfun, unfair, and grindy aspects carefully, in detail, so go check out that video if you want to find out more. But in summary, they copy-pasted ship, vehicle-based combat onto an FPS feat combat. Because of course, vehicle-based combat makes for great FPS combat, right? I also examined that it would take nearly 30 hours of grinding just to upgrade fully one spacesuit, and a little bit less for the weapons. So say 25 hours on average if you speed grind each part of your equipment. Each! It's an insane level of disrespect for your player's time. Oh, but then maybe exploration gameplay might be that one shining beacon? Yeah, about that. There is no gameplay. Yeah, after alpha, developers promised to remove that gameplay, since people hated it, like hated more than I've seen anything being hated within this community. Oh, and in case you wonder what it was this. Basically, they gave a reaction skill-based gameplay to the people who explicitly don't play nor want any skill-based gameplay, instead seeking knowledge-based gameplay. It's like going to a kid's birthday party and instead of bringing a gift, you destroy something the kid owns. What the fuck were these people thinking? So yeah, on literally every single account, even after 5 months, Odyssey has still not brought to the public anything that would be interesting or fun, let alone worth paying $40 fucking or those fake British rubles. Everyone was wondering, well, what the fuck happened? And the saddest thing is, it did not take that much effort to realize what had occurred here. You see, at the end of the May, Frontier concludes their financial year. And I'll leave it at that. As for the future, aside from the fact that Elite is literally living in a sort of a limbo state where for PC you have Horizon's version which has the old planet tech and graphics, while Odyssey has the new graphics and the new planet tech and you can't play together. It's like a dimensional split or something. Also because all the focus is now on Odyssey to actually develop the parts that were, shall we say, skipped. Horizons will barely be maintained at that, until they can port all the Odyssey-based stuff onto Horizons, including the planet tech, so we have limited time for those good old planets that we still can visit, but for, again, limited time. In approximately 1 or 2 months for Odyssey, we might actually start seeing some noticeable performance changes, but we'll see how it goes once we get them, of course, if at all. Oh, and after that disastrous launch, clearly, if the fucking garbage could not be run on recommended spec machines properly, what are the chances the PS4 and Xbone would manage it at all, since they are weaker than the minimum spec machines? So, decision was made to halt the release of console version, which was planned about 6 months after Odyssey launch. 6 months? Ha! We're almost there, for fuck's sakes! And yet the absolute saddest thing is, everyone is suffering because of this decision. I know only maybe one small group of people will not be feeling the effects of this launch. This release was not just a bad DLC. It transcended it. It forced even the more devoted followers to realize what Frontier Developments as a company was doing and how they were ready to treat the community, fans, the game, and even the memory of it. Now I know I spent notably more time on Elite this time around, but fuck me, everyone should know about this. So if you stuck around for this long, well, thank you. By every single account, no matter how good each today's subject fared this year, it's nowhere near apocalyptically bad as it is for Elite. You look at Steam charts and the numbers alone tell a interesting story. You could almost draw parallels to No Man's Sky, but in reverse. Regardless of it, next year I only wish I would not need to summarize Elite's segment with one phrase. It's dead, Jim. But it's not up to me now. But anyways, if you enjoy this kind of an insight into our space sim leaders, if you will, do consider in turn to helping me out by becoming a patron or YouTube member. $1 a month, trust me, gives me a lot of potato good.